I had a farm in Africa, at the foot of the Gong Hills. The farm lay at an altitude of 6,000 feet, which made it a bit too high for growing coffee. The landscape was unlike any other in the world. There was no luxuriance anywhere on the land, the colors were dry and burnt, and the lone trees on the Great Plains looked like full-rigged ships. On my farm lived many native Kikuyu people, which I called squatters. In exchange for harvesting my coffee at the end of the season, they could live on my farm. One of these squatters was Kamante. When I first arrived in Africa, he was only a small boy. Every day he would come to my house for medical treatment, as his legs were covered in open sores. I took him to the hospital at the Scotch Mission to be treated. After Kamante's return from the hospital, he worked as a sign of the gratitude he felt. Out of the many jobs he did, the most important one was taking care of Lulu. Lulu was a young bushbuck antelope. I came across her when she was just a kid and raised her in my own house. Every day, Kamante would feed her by hand until the day that she left the house.
Mem Sahib, Lulu is gone. She was wandering around this morning, but she has not come back yet, and it is now nightfall.
We should wait. She may be here tomorrow or the day after that. Farah, I fear the worst. I think that Lulu may be dead. It has already been a week since we last seen her.
No, Mem Sahib, Lulu is not dead. She is married. I saw her with another antelope this morning.
For the next several years, Lulu would visit our farm. Eventually she had a baby, and her visits became few and far between. With Lulu's visits, I felt that my house and the landscape became one. As for Kamante, we stayed in Africa after I left. He would often send me letters, even though he had to hire someone to write for him. The natives had a strange way of putting things. Kamante would often ask for me to return. On the evening of the 19th of December, tragedy took place. As I was standing before my house, a shot fell. 3 of the squatter children, Kabero, Wamai, and Wanyangeri, had been playing with what they thought to be an unloaded gun. Kabero took the gun, aimed straight in amongst, and pulled the trigger. The shot had boomed through the house. The other 2 were badly hurt or dead. Both were brought to the hospital. Wamai had died on the journey there, while Wanyangeri's jaw had been blown clean off. The next day, a council of elders gathered outside my house to discuss the death of Wamai.
What price should Kanino pay to Jagonna?
Juguna was poor and Wamai was his only son. I set the price at 40 sheep. These are my sheep. Wamai was my son. These people are just greedy. They abandoned him.
Don't worry, I'll write you a note to show that the sheep are yours. Several months later, Wanyangeri returned from the hospital. Once again, the council of elders convened.
What price shall Kanino pay to Anana?
My son has a metal jaw. He will never find the wife and bring wealth to the family. I demand 10 sheep, a cow, and a calf.
We have discussed enough for today. We will reconvene tomorrow.
After much discussion, we have come to a conclusion. Kanino shall pay the price that Wainana has demanded. No more, no less.
I have written a document to finalize this matter. My farm was a little too high up for growing coffee. It happened in the cold months that we would get frost on the lower land, and in the morning, the shoots of the coffee trees, and the young coffee berries on them, would be all brown and withered. The wind blew in from the plains, and even in the good years we never got the same yield of coffee to the acre as the people in the lower district.
Mem Sahib, I have bad news.
What is it?
The coffee harvest this year was low.
How low?
40 tons, Mem Sahib.
We were also hit by a plague of grasshoppers. Farah, I keep receiving news of these grasshoppers. Surely they can't be as bad as they seem. They're only insects.
Mem Sahib, turn around and look for yourself.
Farah, get the farm ready. Tell the squatters to cover their fields. The grasshoppers didn't affect our coffee. The leaves of the coffee plants were too hard for them to chew. However, the maize fields of the squatters were a sad sight. Only a few stalks remained. You reviewed my farm. What do you think?
Well, the land's a bit too high up for coffee, but we plan to resell the land once Nairobi grows out west for a higher profit. We don't have any use for the land right now, so you can stay on the farm until the coffee harvest.
The same year that I sold the farm, my good friend, Chief Kinanjui, died. Oh no, what happened?
I was mauled by cattle. I won't last much longer. The wound has turned gangrenous. Take me to your farm.
No, I can't. I have to call the hospital.
But you must. Take me with you so I can die in peace.
No, I can't. I'm sorry. Dennis would often visit me. He used to live at my house between the safaris, but as I was moving out, he would live at Hugh Martin's house and drive over every day to dine with me.
You know I won't have a place to stay after you leave.
Where will you go then?
Anywhere would be fine. I would feel just as happy in a tent on the Maasai Reserve, or I could take a house in the Somali village. You know, I own a small piece of land on the Somali coast, in Takanga, north of Mombasa. I had a small house there, so I might stay there after you leave. Actually, why don't you come live with me? For all these years you've had me in your own home, so why don't you come with me?
You know I can't, Dennis. It's too hot there. I wouldn't be able to stand living there.
Anyways, I'll be going down to Takanga for a week. I'll meet you for lunch next Thursday, Karen.
The following Thursday, Dennis didn't show up for lunch. I drove down to Nairobi to have lunch with my friends, but everybody seemed to be avoiding me.
Mem Sahib, I have bad news for you.
To Miss Karen Blixen, I am writing this letter to announce to you the loss of one of our good friends, Dennis Finch Hatton. Dennis had been staying with me over the night and left from the aerodrome in the morning, with his boy in the aeroplane with him, for your farm. After he had left, he turned and came back quickly, flying low at 200 feet. Suddenly, the aeroplane swayed, got into a spin, and came down like a bird swooping. As it hit the ground, it caught fire. The people who ran to it were stopped by the heat. When they got branches and earth and had thrown them on the fire and had got it out, they found that the aeroplane had been all smashed up, and the 2 people in it had been killed in the fall.
I sent for Dennis's body to be sent to my farm for the funeral. Dennis had been close to the Maasai, and many of his Maasai companions were present, mourning for him long after we left. Part of the process of moving off the farm was selling off many of my possessions. I couldn't take them back with me to Europe, and needed the money for the move. I still had another matter to attend to, and that was the resettling of the natives.
Madame, I don't see why any of this is necessary.
Please, just listen to me. The natives on my farm have been living together for generations. I can't bear the thought of having them being split up.
Well, if you insist, there's a space on the Dagareti Forest Reserve that we could relocate them to. This way, they won't be split up.
Thank you. The day that I left, I was accompanied by Farah.
As I left, I watched the Ngong Hills level out in the distance.